Summer 2024 is strange. We have a bit of everything, ranging from teenagers with deep psychological issues to trashy shonen for fans of culture, to trashy isekai for fans of culture, to trashy isekai that nobody asked for. It seems like it was generated by ChatGPT and approved by an out-of-touch corporate boardroom. And obviously we have what is perhaps the best anime ever made. The industry has peaked, anime can stop now, nothing will ever surpass this. Much like a Spider-Man movie, I've been far from home and for the last few days I've had a burning fever. Thankfully, the only prescription the doctor gave me was more trashy anime. So let's get into this delicious slop that is summer 2024. Oshinoko Season 2 has been absolutely amazing. It's so fun to watch a teenager with crippling trauma fight the sadness from the passing of his mother, who was actually his patient back in his previous life when she was pregnant with himself. It's all so easy to understand. And as a side note, I will tell this story at my own physical peril, but I do try to sometimes watch anime with my girlfriend. Yes, I know, big mistake. But we usually watch things that appeal a bit more to the female demographic. We watched My Happy Marriage last year, we watched Apothecary Diaries, which we both really enjoyed, and for some reason, my idiot self watched the first episode of Oshinoko and thought, this will maybe appeal to her. And so we were watching the first episode and she was a bit weirded out by the age of the main character, which, is understandable. She knows what the drill is with the entertainment industry in Asia. She watches some of those Korean pop ladies that sing. I don't get it, but I wish them the best. And, she may not like it, but she knows what the deal is. And then came the whole deal with the reincarnation and the whole he's her doctor but actually her son as well. And that's, the guy from X-Men who can shoot lasers from his eyes? Yeah, that's the type of side-eye I was getting for the entire 1-hour episode. It's like it was eroding away my soul. And I thought, okay, it is a bit weird, but once the story actually starts cooking and we get the revenge subplot and all that, she'll like it. Nope, the flip never came. She was just extremely weirded out and she broke up with me and I've never seen her since. Okay, that is a lie, we are still together, but she did not want to watch Oshinoko with me. So for the people that can get past the weird reincarnated premise and strange incestuous vibes, and trust me, as a manga reader, it's gonna get freaky, and maybe you do like freaky, or maybe you just like the overall production so much that you think it's worth watching, and honestly, I really recommend Oshinoko. The animation is gorgeous, the direction is stunning, and elevates this anime way beyond even the source material, which is quite good already. And this story arc in particular is one of my favorites, so the script is pretty good as well. I think this arc is Oshinoko at its best, mixing compelling character drama with a behind-the-scenes look at the Japanese entertainment industry. And I know some people may have felt a bit misled because the story is not giving us really the revenge subplot that it started out with, but trust me, you are missing out on some amazing character drama, it's worth sticking with it. And all I can say is, this anime is way outside what I usually watch, and yet it is my anime of the season. Oshinoko is just that good. Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. Me, as a man, I'm not impressed because I hide my feelings in all languages. I just bottle them up and then explode one day in a fit of rage for no reason at all, because what's really the alternative? Am I going to talk through my feelings like some sort of weak beta male? You. So yeah, I know some of you guys are watching Alya thanks to the poll I did. Yay for community polls, so exciting. I just wish that you could make a poll where you could vote on more than one option, but unfortunately the technology isn't there yet. I know that Alya has gotten a lot of buzz this season, but unfortunately it has my unholy trinity of tags. Romance, school, comedy. It's just... it gives me the shivers. And listen guys, I've done my fair share in my youth. I've watched stuff like Rosario plus Vampire, which I would never watch today, and I've even watched the absolute bottom of the barrel like Green Green. Do not ask, I will not answer. And I'm getting old, in both body but especially in spirit, and I need to at least have some fantasy elements in the story for me to cope while I'm watching this. I just cannot pretend to care about high school drama and love triangles, and will they? Won't they? I hope they do, I wish them the best, but I'm not watching. But I will say this, in order to not let my preconceptions stop me from watching a hidden gem, if by the end of the year there is one of these school romance anime that you guys think is a must-watch, that it is groundbreaking, then I will watch it. Perhaps. Maybe. This is not a promise, it's more of a non-committal idea. And as a side note, anime has got to be the only entertainment medium where fans shame each other into watching everything. Like fans don't have tastes or something. Like fans are just these unopinionated bots that must watch every animation to come out of Japan, every single genre. Except mecha, of course, because despite the immense propaganda, nobody likes mecha. Did you hear that? Those are the Gundam fans crying in the background, but don't worry. You and me, we will bathe on their tears later. Tower of God Season 2, The Return of the Prince. Unfortunately, the prince is not any of the characters from Season 1 that the fans actually liked. In what is one of the most bizarre story decisions ever, the author swapped the previous cast that the fans liked a lot for this cast of characters that is largely unlikable. One of the characters is a soccer mom with glasses, the other is a kid that got lost in her way to school, and the new pseudo main character thingy is a dude that throws Pokeballs. Cool. And this is even more confusing because our main character is in his loner story arc, where he doesn't need anybody because he can do everything by himself. And while cliché, this story arc has been done successfully in many stories, even Shadow the Hedgehog or most recently My Hero Academia did something similar. And here it makes even less sense because after the first few episodes our main character is stuck babysitting this bunch of jabronis. And even as someone that read almost the entire webtoon of Tower of God, I must say I really don't like this arc. To me, it's one of the worst arcs in the entire series, and mostly because I don't really like any of the characters. Some of the story decisions and world building in Tower of God is sometimes a bit confusing, dare I say a bit nonsensical even, but the fans let it go because they enjoy the characters so much. Take that away and you're left a bit unsatisfied. And unfortunately, the adaptation is not really good either. We have bland, boring animation, we have breakneck, confusing pacing where story elements and character decisions are sometimes completely cut. Without spoiling anything, the game they played in the anime made absolutely no sense because they just cut out so much stuff. Really, the only thing positive I have to say about Tower of God is how good it sounds. The soundtrack is once again done by Kevin Penkin and is very good, and the opening and ending are also bangers. The beloved Kun is back by episode 5, but I fear it may be a bit too late by then. I may make a video about Tower of God Season 2 in the future, but for now I definitely do not recommend it. Shikanoko Nokonoko Koshitantan is the most complex and thought-provoking art piece of our time. Its themes are so profound that I can barely scratch the surface. It's a story about redemption and change and self-acceptance as a woman seeks to change her life through the power of perseverance and most importantly, the power of the deer. Okay, I've already made an entire video with this joke, okay, so I'm not going to go on an insane rant again. Instead, let's speak honestly, just you and me. Come a bit closer. The Deer anime is very funny in the first episode, but then it starts going into a case of haha, I'm still chuckling, but where is this going kind of deal. I'm definitely wondering if the joke has worn out or if it's worth to continue watching. I think this is one of those anime that got massively overhyped by how good the first episode was. We can call this the Zom 100 effect. And if you stumble upon YouTube and try to search up this anime, all you'll see is a bunch of reaction channels with the soy boy face like this is the greatest comedy of our time, when sure it is funny, but please temper your expectations coming in because it's not a masterpiece by any means. So do I recommend the Deer anime? Sure, if you want a laugh then go watch it, you'll have fun, but please do not expect some sort of groundbreaking comedy because it isn't. Wistoria, Wand and Sword. Fantasy anime sure stimulate my sword, am I right guys? I started watching this because I'm admittedly very biased towards fantasy. Swords and magic just turn me on, what can I do? And word on the street was that the animation was pretty crisp. Turns out the streets did not lie, the animation is pretty good and the action scenes are very visually appealing. The premise is pretty much Black Clover in school, like Mashal, but unironically. The main character cannot use magic in an academy of magic, oh boy, and he wants to be the Magiabende, which is pretty much the magical Hokage of the story. Positive things. Unlike in Black Clover and Mashal, even though the protagonist is very physically strong, he's not a meathead. He's actually quite level-headed, he uses his brain, he's well-read. In the initial episodes, I was enjoying him quite a lot. Unfortunately, there's a catch, because with these shonen protagonists, we are stuck in a paradox of eternal suffering. We either have the meathead character who's very impulsive but who's too dumb to doubt himself, or we have the intelligent, timid character who's a very nice guy but is too much of a Nancy to do anything by himself. My man knows that he has to put himself out there in order to get the magical girl of his dreams, and yet he's too shy and polite to really put himself out there unless he's compelled to by some dastardly villain. Which brings me to my next complaint. The villains in this show are so over-the-top evil and cartoony. They hate people because they're different. Meh. We have two villains that are essentially the same guy. They're both arrogant aristocrats that hate our main character because he cannot use magic. And they are literally the same guy, with the only difference being one uses fire and the other uses ice. And they even both have two lackeys that just follow them around and glaze them the entire time. Is this a thing at Japanese schools? Did your high school have this, where the popular guy just has two sidekicks just sucking up to him the entire time? It's so bizarre. Anyway, I'm enjoying Wistoria for what it is. It is very much a turn your brain off kind of anime. It has major flaws, but if you can get past that, it's quite good visual candy, so watch it if you're looking for that. And speaking of turning your brain off, Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, and Fairy Tail. I can't believe I grew up watching this and nowadays I'm such a fine, well-adjusted adult. Sir or Madame, may I please interest you in magical fights that are ultimately resolved by the power of friendship, or nostalgic characters with timeless banter, or breasts. Lots of breasts. After more than 15 years, Fairy Tail is pretty much a known quantity, and it is what it is, and it's not going to change, and at this point it really shouldn't change. People that want complex characters or storylines are not going to give Fairy Tail a chance at this point in time, so why not keep appealing to its fans that love it for what it is? Yes, it is dumb. Yes, it has a lot of fan service, and yes, it does feel like a shonen anime from over a decade ago, and so what? You either hop off or join the ride, because this Fairy Tail train is not stopping for anybody. Choo choo! Do I recommend Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest for people that do not have a nostalgic attachment to Fairy Tail? No. Isekai DC Intellectual Property number 69. I did not actually watch this, I did not have the courage to, as every review and comment echoed the same feeling of meh. If I'm being completely honest, I don't really care about the DC characters. My love for comic book heroes has been steadily declining for years now, and even at its peak, I was always more of a Marvel guy. When people say they like well-written female characters and then they say like Harley Quinn from the movies, I'm ugh. This whole crew is not for me. Maybe if it was Isekai Batman, or maybe if it was John Cena voice acting and actually trying to speak Japanese, maybe then I'd watch it. And yes, I know that the author of ReZero is involved in this, but I don't really think they gave him any sort of creative freedom with these American characters. Anyway, maybe I'm being too cynical. Is this actually worth watching? Leave it in the comments below. Isekai Shikkaku, no longer allowed in another world. The Isekai Teri has been milked so dry that the premise for this one is we have a guy that was isekai'd sending other dudes that were isekai'd back into their original world. Yes, that is the level of subversion we are operating at. I went into this thinking it's just more seasonal isekai slop, and yes, it is very trashy, but it has also been quite funny and self-aware, which really surprised me. The way they parody the usual isekai cliches by having a main character that does not want to win or even live is quite funny and hasn't bored me yet. Usually these parody anime fall off very quick. I was expecting the main character to just gain powers and be a standard generic main character very quickly into the story, but by episode 6 that is not the case. They are keeping true to the original original theme, and it's been quite entertaining. The jokes are still hitting for me, and honestly, that's all I can ask. Even though it's a parody, it does still suffer from the very flaws that it's trying to parody in the isekai genre, like the story is all over the place and doesn't make a lot of sense, and the villains are comically evil, but still it manages to make me giggle, so if it's comedy that it's going for, then it's doing a good job. Do I recommend this though? If you want to get a chuckle out of an anime making fun of isekai, then sure, go watch it. If you're expecting a isekai subversion on the level of ReZero, for example, then you're going to be disappointed. Finally, I'm watching Elusive Samurai, a series that is truly elusive as of the time of this recording I still haven't quite formed an opinion on it. It does the new age shonen approach of being very impactful in the first episode, as everything seems to start out fine and then things get very brutal very fast. The animation is great, the main character, perhaps because of his age, is endearing, and the setting is a samurai setting, which I'm always a sucker for because I'm a nerd. I've only watched the first few episodes, but from what I did watch, I enjoyed it. The only thing I'm having trouble with, and I know this is going to sound very hypocritical from someone who's one of my favorite anime is Gintama, but the tone for this anime is all over the place. Elusive Samurai has a lot of jarring tone shifts, like you're having an emotional moment, then you transition into some goofy comedy, then a brutal fight scene, and then the characters are just goofing around, and you're left a bit confused. The tone and pacing almost feel incoherent at times, like the story doesn't know how to transition properly between high and low moments, and you're just watching this with your head bouncing around all over the place. If you're watching this, definitely let me know in the comments what you're thinking of it. According to my anime list, it's way more unpopular than I thought, and I don't really know if I should recommend this or who should I recommend it to. And that's all I'm watching. Special shout out though to NieR Automata. I've never played the game, I may watch the anime at some point, but either way it has my opening song of the season, Black Box by Lisa. Lisa once again never misses, so even if you don't watch the anime, make sure to go check out the opening on YouTube. As for last season's leftovers, I think that Slime is much better now. Don't get me wrong, it is still yap central with characters yapping all day, but now they are actually interacting and showing with the things they are yapping about. Surprised Pikachu. The conversations being had are actually relevant to the audience now, which makes the show twice more enjoyable. Wow! Almost as if an extremely handsome man with a very weird accent made a YouTube video talking about exactly this. What a world. Spice and Wolf has also been ramping up. I've been enjoying it a lot, and I've been reading the Reddit episode threads, and I'm shocked that my opinion is apparently unpopular, but this last festival arc has been my favorite up until now. I loved it. It's the perfect mix of economic themes and the romance relationship between our two main characters. I just think it works so well. So if you're into romance and economics, which I guess is a very strange Venn diagram for a person, but even if you're just into romance, definitely go check out Spice and Wolf, it's really good. And that's it for me. Personally, I don't think this season is super strong. I think Oshinoko is the only standout anime, and every other thing that I'm watching can be enjoyable but has some sort of major flaw. So let's hope that the next season is better than this one. As usual, if there is any hidden gem that I missed, let me know in the comments, and like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao!